continue. And now they're talking about, quote, bailing out the auto industry, but that's not even what it is. They're going to nationalize it and have Obama's cabinet cronies in there controlling that as a political tool and literally taking over the unions. I mean, how dangerous is that, sir?
Well, it's tremendously dangerous because although we've been creeping in that direction, this is an endorsement of nationalization. If they keep token ownership with the corporations, which they probably will, then it's called fascism, and it's building up on this so-called partnership. This morning on the business station, they were bragging about how great Bernanke was, and he should be called the man of the year because he understands business, and he's a good businessman, and he knows how to invest his money. And I thought, that is the most dangerous statement in the world. It's a confession that now the Federal Reserve and government and Treasury, they're bosom buddies of corporations. And that, to me, is about as close to fascism as you can get.
It is as close to fascism as you can get classically. And I think the public's starting to recognize this. We have the Prime Minister of Canada right now, Stephen Harper, saying that it looks like we're going into a depression. We have one of the chief of the IMF saying we're probably going to have riots worldwide if they, quote, don't get things going. But if you look at the IMF World Bank documents that got leaked to the BBC in late 2001, they state that they cut off liquidity by design to implode markets so that they can then come in and buy things up for pennies on the dollar. Can you speak to that?
Well, not clearly, because I don't know if that's true. I suspect that it might be, but I also think that this is such a big bubble that even those with a lot of money, get a little bit nervous about what's happening. The one thing for sure is they're pretty capable of shifting. So if it goes sour, worse than they expect, because I don't think they have perfect control, but they're always available, and they do have cash. They're not arguing there's a little bit of cash, and just think of all this new credit. So there's a lot of money sitting there ready to be bought up, and it won't be the average guy on the street that, lost everything in the stock market. It's going to be these people who got out a little sooner, they've got new credit from the Fed. Goldman Sachs will be around for a while, and the money market accounts have trillions of dollars. So somebody is going to buy this up, but it's not going to be a return to the market economy at the rate we're going.
Well, I mean, the basic fundamental, and I'd like to get your take on this, Congressman. We're talking to Congressman Ron Paul from Texas. Dealing with this, I mean, clearly the authors of the economic collapse we're witnessing in the worldwide depression that this whole crisis is spiraling into are now posing and positioning themselves as the saviors. And the mainstream media, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, every time I'm watching a banking committee, the House banking, Senate banking, every time I'm watching one of the subcommittees, they will show Kashkari, they will show Paulson, they will show other operatives of the system. They will show their propaganda, but as soon as it cuts to the chairman or to yourself or to any other member of the committees, they cut away. So clearly the big banking cartels are controlling and owning much of the media. So how do we get around that when they won't let the public understand what's really happening?
Well, you have to recognize it, and you have to do your best to get around it. Although I complain just as you are complaining, I'm still getting a lot more interviews now than I did a year ago on this issue. So it's not, I'm not completely blocked out, but there's a lot of what you say that goes on. But then we have to go around them, if nothing else. What I fear is them closing down the internet. That, to me, would be the big problem, if they take that away from us. So we've been able to reach millions of people through the internet, and you reach a lot of people on radio. So if they start cracking down on radios and internet and shortwave and all these things, then that's when we're really in big trouble.
Well, as you know, they've openly in Congress talked about bringing back the Fairness Doctrine, this Internet 2 doctor. I'm sure you know, but for the audience, they are shifting basically all the new upgrades to Internet 2, where private corporations own it and control it, and they admit they're not going to allow free speech. They're only going to give people a few thousand websites and not the hundreds of millions that are currently available. So what they're doing is hijacking the web. We're going back to the full audience. Here we go. Okay, Congressman Ron Paul, and we've only got about 5 minutes left with you right now, sir. Specifically, There is an Army War College report out, and you know about NORTHCOM announcing 20,000 combat troops for the streets of America. They are openly stating it is for civil unrest and rioting. The new report's called The Knowns and Unknowns, Unconventional Strategic Shock and Defense Strategy Development. The Army openly says in here on the Army War College that they are preparing to engage the American people. Posse Comitatus has not been fully removed. I mean, we're now seeing open martial law being discussed and being debated as if it is the solution to the financial crisis. And under the new Defense Department directive put out the 24th by Gates, sir, they're saying that governors will be under the control of the president and will serve at his pleasure. Can you speak to that?
Well, I think what you're doing is just pointing out the danger of using the fear factor for our foreign policy and our financial problems, and now they do it for your physical safety, which to me is just a continuation of the 9/11, post-9/11 attitude, because that was when they started getting past all the legislation that they had proposed for so many years. Now they're saying, well, we're going to have chaos in the street. The terrorists aren't going to be people coming from outside. The terrorists are going to be our own people. There's going to be chaos here in the streets as a consequence of the financial crisis. So therefore, we have to militarize our communities. And once again, it's that attitude that government is our savior, and they can't save us. I mean, all the SEC and all the regulations can't protect us against fraud, and all the policemen in the world can't protect us in our homes.
Congressman, continuing in the time we have left, specifically, they are saying they're preparing to engage the American people. Is this unconstitutional? Is this treason?
Well, it's obviously not constitutional, and depending on how it comes about, it could very well be treasonous, but on how the confrontation comes. Of course, they would never say that they're confronting. They might use those terms, but they might say, we're confronting violence, and we're going there to save you. We don't want your cities burnt down, so therefore, we're going to put our troops in there to prevent these problems. So, just think of all the harm that they've done over these especially last 100 years. How often do they really get hauled into the court? And what about the illegality of the whole monetary system? Nothing really happens. So it depends on what the people understand and believe in that really count. So we cannot depend on the Congress or our courts to save us.
Well, sir, going back, over the last 20 years, as you know, they've been covertly getting rid of Posse Comitatus, merging the military and police, and now they're acting like they just set this up last week. This is part of a larger strategic plan.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they did pass a couple of years ago, I think it was in '96, in the supplemental, serious erosion of Posse Comitatus, and it was finally exposed, and then it was in a way reversed. But that's just tokenism. I mean, if they feel like doing something wrong, they just go ahead and do it. So the fact that they reversed that in a token way shouldn't reassure us, because when push comes to shove, they're going to ignore it. But they would change the law when they get the opportunity, and this new administration, I'm sure, would be quite capable of doing it, even without the Congress. You know about executive orders.
And PDD 51. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sir, in closing, two final questions in the 2 minutes we have left with you. Specifically, did you see the article in the Financial Times of London admitting that they've covertly set up world government, the headline, and now for world government admitting, do they need to apologize, all the people that called us kooks because we were reading the internal white papers?
Well, no, they're not going to apologize. I didn't happen to see that article, but when Bernanke was before the committee the last time, I wanted to know what kind of international plans he had, for the currency and a world central bank. Of course, he has no obligation to answer any of those questions. He has a moral obligation, but under the law, he doesn't. Under the Constitution, he should. So, I think those plans are being laid. People say, well, it's not going to happen. But, they used to say that the European Union wouldn't ever happen. So I think we should take this stuff seriously. And this morning there was a pretty strong announcement by the IMF that their vehicle is going to be these SDRs, these special drawing rights. This is what they used to call paper gold, will be the worldwide reserve currency. They tried to do it. It didn't work. But now they see another opening to move.
So it's world government oven by the bankers. Sir, as a rallying cry, we can defeat this world government, can't we? What do the people need to do?
Well, the truth is on our side, and also the economic policy is on our side. Well, the most important thing is information to the people so they know what we're doing, know what's in their best interest, not to have people in Congress keep voting for bailouts and this pretense that we're going to take care of everybody. So knowledge is the only answer to the problems that we have today.
And as you said earlier, they are coming after the Internet.
Yep, that's what that is my greatest fear because we'll never be able to control the three majors. But right now we can get around them. The more knowledge is out there, the more we can make inroads to the average person that does appear. They can't control everybody's mind.
I want you to have a great Christmas. Let me say bye to you during the break.